All right, Dan. Well, the Red Sox making a massive trade here as they deal away Rafael Devers. They get four players back from the San Francisco Giants. And, we're now the next morning after the night this all came down. And I'm still trying to process it. I know you're doing the same. There's so many different layers to get through. But let's just start with what your immediate reaction is and now where you stand on the deal after it first broke last night.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to this one, Joe. That's kind of how I look at it. I do think that when you look at it, the first thing is the impact of losing Rafael Devers. I think you maybe put it in your mind, almost like Casas, Tristan Casas, that it's like, okay, they just lost a player for the season, right? That's kind of how I look at it and say, how does this damage the team? Well, he has been the team. He's been the guy that you don't want to face, especially when you're taking a team on like the Yankees, where they just captured 5 of the last 6. They had all this momentum going, and Rafael Devers is right in the middle of that. He just hammers the Yankees and hammers their pitching. He's the anti-judge in a lot of ways when it comes to what's going on with the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. So that's the biggest impact is you lose that bat. There's no question about that. You lose a kid that certainly knows how to hit. I think the other part of this is there's a lot of layers from the sense of there were a lot of issues with Rafael Devers and the front office this season, and not necessarily Rafael Devers' fault to some degree. So I think the team was kind of in the middle of it. And I think now with the call-ups of Marcelo Meyer, especially with Roman Anthony, and I think you now look at it and say, this is now the face of the franchise has become Roman Anthony. Like it or not, Roman Anthony is putting all the pressure on him. But if you're a Red Sox fan, this is the guy. And you and I have talked about this before. Roman Anthony is a guy that is a high, the number one prospect in baseball, and outside of New England, because I think everyone's a bit jaded in watching Christian Campbell and these guys struggles early. But Anthony is regarded as like this can't miss kid, that he's going to be this 5-tool player who can do great things. So I look at it now. This is an indication the Red Sox are saying we're moving on from Devers. We're done with that. And it's now Roman Anthony's team, and let's build around him. And here we go.
And you just hit on one word there, Dan, that I was thinking as you were finishing out the rest of that point, and that's the pressure of it. And the reality is now with the big three, there's pressure on them to succeed because everybody's now going to be talking about the future of this team, maybe more rather than the present, and especially if this team starts to fall off on this West Coast trip. And I just think that's a lot of pressure for these young kids who are now trying to find their footing in the big leagues. I mean, Alex Bregman talked about it, Dan, that Roman Anthony, he expects him to be a star, and he's got that it factor. But that's going to take some time. And now it's almost you're looking at him as like the savior of the franchise because you've stripped away with the best hitter on this team. And Dan, I keep coming back to this as I continue to process what has happened here. I think there is blame on both sides. I think that's definitely true. But at the same time, the Red Sox have dealt away one of the premier hitters in the sport. And you talk about what expectations this team had for specific players coming into this season. Rafael Devers' expectation was, hey, you're going to be a DH. We know this is a move, but we need you to perform and do that job. And I'll say this, outside of maybe Garrett Crochet, and you could throw in Carlos Narvaez if you wanted to, Dan, nobody did their actual job, what they were expected to do better than Rafael Devers. He's been one of the best hitters in the sport, and you lose a franchise icon that you have a lot of positive memories about if you're a fan. They better be right. And I think that's my takeaway, Dan, is you can make a move like this. We've seen some bold moves, obviously, in the history of this franchise, and a lot of them that have worked, like trading Nomar Garciaparra. But we look back at that and say, that was a bold move, but it did work. And now they put themselves in a similar situation.
Well, and I think Rafael Devers was caught in the middle of this whole ordeal with the young prospects, right? And I think it didn't go well. It wasn't executed well by Craig Breslow. And on the other side, it wasn't taken very well by Rafael Devers. And I'm old school. And, the initial move to DH, they sat him down and said, listen, Alex Bregman is a 2-time Gold Glove winning third baseman. Can you're going to DH. Great. He's got that mindset. They said, put away your glove. He's good. Then we see Casas go down. And then for them to approach Devers and say, would you think of playing first base because of Casas being out for the season? It might give us our best options, flexibility. He said no. His initial reaction was no, to the media, to the public. They said he didn't like the way Craig Breslow handled it and everything else. Now, you had your owner fly out to Kansas City and to sit down with him and ask him about moving to first base. To me, that's when things should have changed, Joe. I get it. But you're talking about the face of the franchise, and the owner, John Henry, personally comes out. He didn't call on the phone. He didn't FaceTime him. He didn't do anything. He personally flew out to Kansas City for no other single reason but to sit down with him and say, could you please play first base? And it sounded like it didn't go well, right? Because they said conversations were productive. So Craig Breslow said and everything else. But at the end of the day, he didn't move to first base. He didn't pick up a glove and start taking grounds to first base. And then you see Alex Bregman go down. And for me, old school, the simple thing is, okay, I get the first base thing in my head. I'm not going to do it. I don't know how to do it. But I know how to play third base. I'm an all-star, 3-time all-star. Yes, my glove isn't the best part of my game, but I know how to do it. And you still didn't see that. And then I think the big thing is, and the reason why he was traded so quickly, my guess, and I'm not in that clubhouse, Joe. I don't know what the conversations are amongst the players, among Alex Cora, everybody else. But my fear is that the young players, Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, have been up a week, 2 weeks. They just, I don't think they wanted the drama. The Red Sox didn't want the drama around these kids. And seeing Devers, say no, pout, and Alex Cora and Craig Breslow trying to get him to take ground ball, I don't think they needed that. I think they want to start fresh as an organization now. And just, these are our guys. This is how we're going to do it. Let's go. This is the Red Sox way. Like it or not. And the victim, and its strangeness about this whole thing was Rafael Devers, who really didn't do anything wrong other than, I think, just didn't, succumb to what maybe he should have when guys went down and got hurt.
Yeah, and I there are a couple of things there, Dan, I just wanted to kind of jump off of. And there was a lot of drama surrounding this, and it was still something that was asked even yesterday. I mean, we were just talking about it before we hopped on, that the last question he was asked was from Chris Cotillo of Mass Live, and essentially saying or asking, have you and the team put everything behind you from earlier in the season? And he said, yeah, that's past us. And
right, but I've been traded. That's what he should have added.
Right, exactly. I can't believe that's his last public statement as a member of the Red Sox. But, Dan, I think what's shocking about it, right, is that there was so much talk around him and playing the field after Casas went down and then Bregman getting hurt. But this team had felt like it just finally started to figure things out. They've won 5 in a row. They just swept the New York Yankees. And by the way, Rafael Devers just hit a home run in this last game against one of the best pitchers in the sport in Max Fried. And the third base situation, Meyer looks fantastic over there. Like, he looks like a guy that's played that position for years, even though he's a natural shortstop. And now you've dealt away a bat that I think the industry, despite the flaws in his overall game, the industry looks at and says, okay, he does things at a very elite rate that few batters do. And I just wanted to bring up this quote that came through from Buster Posey, who's in charge of the Giants now. And he said that he went on the record and said that the Red Sox have been he's been talking with the Red Sox about Rafael Devers for a few weeks. But the quote stood out to me. He said, the bat is so special. It's hard to acquire this type of talent at this point of his career. It felt like this was a chance to take a shot. And that team, the Giants, Dan, they've missed out on so many free agents over the years. They go about it by getting a bat by trade, and they have this guy locked up long term. I know people are concerned about what this contract could look like, but right now he's one of the best hitters in the sport. And for all the drama, the Red Sox don't have that now in their lineup anymore.
Well, no, and I think this is a step back for the Red Sox. And with Buster Posey saying that, yes, they've been trying. They've tried Judge. They've tried players in the past to get a bat. They haven't been able to get one. Now they've got one. I'm curious, will they ask Devers to play a little first base because they're having problems there? There's been no solution and everything else too. So that's interesting. I also think, Joe, that this was the time for the Red Sox to sit there and say, position-wise, fielding-wise, we now have flexibility to move guys around and keep everybody on the major league level. And again, I go back to, I think this is about Roman Anthony. I think that they think he's a franchise type of player. And, he may go 1 for 50 and they put him back down in Worcester for now, but make no mistake about it. He's here to stay. He's the guy. He's the face of this franchise now. So I think by eliminating Devers from the DH spot, you can now take your outfield problems. We talked about Jarren Duran maybe possibly being traded. I think you have Duran, you have Rafaela, you have Wilyer Abreu, you have Roman Anthony, and I think you're going to mix and match those guys in and out of the DH spot to go with, your Toros and and your Romy Gonzalez's and those guys in the first and third base slot with lefties. So I think it gives them a lot of more flexibility than they've ever had. And unfortunately, eliminating Devers from that equation was the biggest part because he wouldn't budge from that DH slot. So bad timing, tough for Red Sox fans to take, but I think this is a step back. And I do think that the Red Sox feel that this is also a necessary step in order to get this young core in line, ready to go. And this now may be a 2-year project. And they add Crochet. They certainly have some flexibility by San Francisco eating the whole contract to go out and trade for some more arms and become better in that capacity and win completely as a team. But you're taking out the really one current superstar you have on this roster, and that's going to hurt them short term.
Yeah, and Dan, you're one reason I'm so glad to be talking to you about this is you have a great perspective, obviously, on the history of this team, and you've covered it for a long time. And this situation made me think about Manny Ramirez, and I'm not saying that they're similar with some of the stuff that the organization had to deal with from the off the field standpoint. And I bring that up because they made it work with Manny for a long time before they dealt him in 2008. They won a couple championships, and I know year in year out there was always trade possibilities, and he had said he wanted to be traded and all that stuff. But it took till maybe the last gasp of it before they dealt him and they got Jason Bay back. Why was this unsalvageable in a way that they couldn't make it work like they did with Manny for so many years?
That's a great question. And I think, again, Joe, I go back to the fact that they're thinking of the future more than they're thinking of now. And they're not going to say that because they just put on an impressive streak and a run here to get back into playoff contention, or at least get back to being a team that has a chance to do something this season. But I do think that they feel like they needed to keep these guys on the major league level, and they needed, again, to create that roster flexibility. And it was Rafael Devers was the victim. And Rafael Devers wasn't even close to what Manny Ramirez was. But again, that team was in a window where they were winning World Series championships, right? So let's face it, when they brought him here as a free agent, Manny started things with that 8-year, $160 million deal, and he was right in the thick of it. So in 2004, he was a big part of what they did. And then even in 2007, they continued to put up with him because they felt they had that window with Ortiz and everybody else to get it going. And then when they brought Ellsbury and those guys up in 2007, I think that's when they realized Ellsbury needs to play, Pedroia needs to play. These are our guys going forward. And they said, enough with the Manny Ramirez. We're done with it. And they moved on from Manny. But that was a deeper issue there, Joe. There was so much going on with Manny, and it was just not a situation. But it's to me, it's a little bit of like that because of the 2007 team created that. And they created the young players that were able to start leading the team from Leicester all the way through to get them to be a World Series contending team again. So, but it hurt them. They didn't get another title till 2013, right? So that's the thing we're talking about. So right. It's going to be up to these guys. There's a lot of pressure on everybody in this organization now to be right? I
think that's the big takeaway. The final thing I wanted to say, Dan, and then I wanted to give you the floor for some final thoughts. I think the part of all this that is the saddest from the Red Sox fans' perspective is that Rafael Devers was a homegrown guy, and he came up so young and almost right from the get-go created memorable moments. And you think about his Red Sox tenure. He had that home run against Chapman at Yankee Stadium when it came in at 103 from Chapman, and he took it out to left center field, silencing that crowd. Even before that, being the youngest Red Sox player to hit a home run since Tony Conigliaro against the Seattle Mariners. Later in that postseason, hits a 2-run home run in Game 3 of the ALCS to give them the lead. They win that lone game against the Astros that year. That has the inside the park home run against the Astros that Alex Bregman remembered when he signed with the Red Sox. In 2018, hits a 3-run home run against Justin Verlander in Game 5 of the ALCS. The go-ahead RBI in Game 4 of the World Series. And then hitting a grand slam in Game 2 of the ALCS in 2021 against the Astros. Him and JD Martinez doing that. The countless home runs against Garrett Cole and the New York Yankees. This guy created a ton of moments. And again, he wasn't a perfect player, but now he's out the door. And to me, that's the saddest part of this, is that he should have been a lifelong Red Sox. There was a lot that happened in this situation. Now he's no longer here. And there are a lot of moments that he created that are going to be left in his path here, but now there's going to be no more moments in the future.
Yeah, and I think to me, the two layers of that, again, this whole thing has a lot of layers. The one is that he's only 28, right? So, yes, he's had some nagging injuries, the shoulder last year, the groin this year, but he's only 28. His body may not last till he's 35, but he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good years in him at least, right? To be that productive type of player. The second part of that, Joe, I'll go back to this team has decided to turn the page, to use an old saying from Manny Ramirez, you just got to turn the page, as Manny would say, is that they're moving on. And again, like it or not, Red Sox fans, here it is. This is the Roman Anthony era of the Red Sox. And it's starting maybe a little too soon for him and for this organization. But make no mistake about it now, the face of the franchise is Roman Anthony, and it's going to be Anthony, Meyer, Campbell, Rafaela, Abreu. This is your team going forward. This is that young group that they're going to try to sell, and they're going to try. Alex Cora is going to try to mold them together to go through this whole thing, get to where they want to get to, and eventually win a World Series championship by the addition of players to go around Crochet and company. That's just the way it is right now as we sit here on this Monday, to the shock of everybody.
Yeah, still shocked, Dan. I've had roughly 12 hours now to process this, and it's still a shock. And I think it's
Joe. You're a young, up and coming, great talent. Like, you haven't been through Bill Buckner. You haven't been through. Those are lows, Joe. This is just a little blip compared to some of the things that Red Sox fans have been through. So it will be okay. Trust me. But it does stink.
We'll see how they respond. And on top of that, Dan, we didn't even mention the guys that got back. Kyle Harrison, left-handed starter. Jordan Hicks, James Tibbs III, who was drafted last year in the first round, and then a rookie-level right-handed reliever or right-handed pitcher in Jose Bayo. So hopefully these guys can help this team out at some point down the line here.
But that was secondary. I was told that was secondary.
Yes,
the biggest thing was getting the $250 to $260 million off of the payroll. With Devers. They didn't have to pay any money of the contract, and that helps them going forward. So they better make some moves. That's the other thing, too. They need some veterans to go along with these kids. They need some help, too.
Well, the beauty of this is I get to see you back-to-back days, even if it's virtually this time. So
yeah. It's always fun.
I'll take that. Dan,
all right, Joe.
Time.
Have a great day. Try to.